So Dante told me not to take up too much time because I could probably throw down for the next 2 hours. The material I'm going to give you guys right now is honestly really what got me to where I am. And again, just so you guys know, I didn't invent this. I didn't make this stuff up. I took the time to learn it from other people. And that's really the biggest thing. Success isn't something that needs to be reinvented over and over and over and over again. It's something that people have already created. And all you need to do is kind of observe what's happened, and you can create that in your own reality. So the key that I'm about to share with you is literally what changed my life in the last couple of years. And a friend told me about this course, and it's called Your Wish is Your Command. I highly recommend you guys write that down, and that you guys actually, I'll give you guys a little bit, just a tidbit today of what it is, because it's in depth. There's a lot to it, but make sure you guys write that down, and maybe I'll drop a YouTube link for it later so you guys can actually go through all of the material. But this was developed by someone named, that audio, yes. Oh yeah, it is absolutely fire, Mario. So this was developed by someone named Kevin Trudeau. Kevin Trudeau, what's crazy about him is he had a crazy, crazy time growing up. And by the time he was, I don't know, 18, 19, he had created some crazy success. And so he got caught in the eyes of some of what we would call the elites of the world. And he literally got trained by, you know, the people that are in these very, very elite communities that honestly have, up until now, more and more info is being let out, but have kind of tried to keep the secrets of creating success to themselves, right? So now we're in a day and age where, because of information, because of YouTube, because of the internet, we are all now able to get access to this kind of information. So I'm going to get right into it. And it all really comes down to the basics. There's a few things that are very, very basic that all of us can do. And it really just comes down to starting to apply them. I want to tell you guys just a very, very brief story. I'm going to try shorten this up. Have any of you guys heard of Shaolin Monks? I'm sure you guys all have. Someone give me a thumbs up. So Shaolin Monks, they're a very prestigious inner circle of the Buddhists at the Buddhist temples. And they do these crazy trainings, and they do all this crazy, crazy training as they grow up to be these super, super mega martial artists, so to say. And the level they get on, it almost seems magical. It almost seems freaky. And up until several years back, they kind of kept that to themselves, but they started showcasing what they were able to do. And they would do crazy things. You know, I'm sure you guys have heard of like the 1-inch punch, where someone, you know, with a 1-inch windup makes a 300-pound guy fly across the room, right? And it's because of our energy. It's because of chi energy, right? So anyways, as they started getting out, the guy who created this course, Kevin Trudeau, actually got one of those guys to come to his house and start training him. And he was, you know, asking him, hey, you know, I want to learn the tricks. I want to learn the magic. And a lot of us in our mind, that's how we operate. I mean, I've done this countless times. It's, what's that secret pill that I can take that's going to take me from, you know, 0 to hero, that's going to take me to success? What is that little secret pill that I can take? And really, there's no secret pill. It comes down to following the basics repeatedly, doing the same thing over an extended period of time, right? So anyways, he starts asking the Shaolin monk, let me see what's the magic? Give me the magic. Let me see some of your magic tricks. I want to learn how to do this stuff. Teach me how to do it. And he said, hey, like, I want to teach you how to throw a punch. He's like, what do you mean? I want to learn the magic stuff. Like, show me the magic stuff. He's like, no, I want to show you how to throw a punch. And he was like, kept arguing back and forth, like, no, I'm here to get that stuff. And he's like, all right, let me see your punch, right? He lights a candle and says, throw a punch and stop, you know, an inch away from this candle. And, you know, he's been training, been in martial arts for years. So he throws this super nice punch, stops perfectly an inch before the candle. And the Shaolin monk says, wow, good job. That was a great punch. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. Now that you can show me the magic stuff. He's like, yeah, okay. But first, I want to show you my punch. And the Shaolin monk throws this small little punch, a lot of form, stops about a foot away from the candle and makes the candle light go out. And Kevin is just blown away. Like, what? How did you do that? I want to learn how to do that. And that's really what it came down to. He didn't do some crazy fancy magic trick. He just threw that punch. He just threw that strike that he practiced over and over. It was the most basic possible move there is. But because he practiced it so many times, there was so much power behind it. There was so much behind it. And that's really what it comes down to in our lives. Mastering these very basic things and doing them over and over and over and over again. I'm sure you guys know the Bruce Lee quote. I don't know exactly how it goes, but it's like, you know, I'm not afraid of the man who knows 1,000 strikes. I'm afraid of the man who's practiced one strike 1,000 times. And that's what it comes down to, us mastering those basics. So I'm going to get into them right now. The very first basic is, who do you listen to? And this is very important because a lot of people, as you grow up, you know, your parents are telling you things, your broke friends are telling you things, all these different people in your life are telling you all these things. But most of those people probably don't have the results you actually want in their own lives. So it is crucial that you start listening to people who have the results you want, but not only the people that have the results you want, the people that have been where you were. That's why this community is so powerful. Pretty much everybody I know in this community, we weren't millionaires when we were born. We weren't born rich. We have developed these skills, and we have been where, you know, we've been on the harder side. We've been on the poverty side, and now we've developed and grown ourselves to get to these higher and higher levels. And that's the beauty of this community is, you know, listen to people that have the results you want, but have also been where you've been. So that's the very, very first basic. The second basic, there's two variables to it. The second basic is teachability index. Now, this is very, very crucial. And a lot of people overlook this, and they don't overlook the first part, but they overlook the second variable of it. The teachability index, the first variable of it is willingness to learn. Now, all of you who are on this call are probably very willing to learn. That's why you guys are on here. That's why you guys are taking notes. That's why you guys want to create that change in your life. Now, the second variable is willingness to accept change. And this is where a lot stops for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that think they're willing to learn. They're willing to learn. They're willing to take in the knowledge. They'll go to a course, and then they'll go to another course. They'll read 10 books, and then they'll read another book, and they never actually changed anything in their life. That is why the second variable is the most challenging variable, willingness to accept change. If you want change to happen in your life, you have to change things in your life, bottom line. So teachability index. Now, there's a way to determine your teachability index, and it's a multiplication. So teachability index, on a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to learn, right? So let's say you're a 10 willingness to learn. But now let's say your willingness to accept change is 1 or 2. What is 2 times 10? That's only 20 on a scale of 1 to 100. So your teachability index is only 20%. So with the 20% teachability index, you're not going to get far. So it really comes down to mastering both of the variables. Now, if your willingness to learn is 10 and your willingness to accept change, the second you learn something, the second you start understanding new information and new knowledge, you start applying it and actually creating that change in your life. Now your teachability or your willingness to accept change is 10 as well. 10 times 10 is 100. Your teachability index is 100%, and you are the best student. You are going to change your life when your teachability index is at that level. Third, the training balance scale. This is the third basic. This is one of the most powerful things I learned in the last years that has transformed my life. And it's a trip, because we are so conditioned and programmed in our lives and our reality to think that the main thing that causes change in our lives is action or work or doing something physical, right? But we don't take the other intangible into account, which is our mind, our thoughts, and our feelings, right? So the training balance scale, it's a scale, right? So there's, on one side, there is thoughts, feelings, emotions. On the other side, there is actions, techniques, strategies, right? And you would think you would need a even balance of both, right? You would need some good strategies and some good techniques, and you would need some good thoughts, emotions, feelings, and all the intangible things, right? You need both of them. But it turns out that 90% of the equation you would think would be on the action part, but it's not. It's on the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings. Now, the reason is, and this has been scientifically proven, the reason is that we are magnetic beings, just like our planet is magnetic. We as humans are magnetic beings, and they've actually in science been able to start measuring thoughts. And you think thoughts is this thing that's just going on in your mind, but actually thoughts are now been proven to be a physical thing with a magnetic field. And so it starts attracting things into your life and into your reality. So your thoughts and your emotions are constantly going out. There's millions of thoughts that you have every single day, and your body and your mind is constantly putting out these vibrations and these magnetics that is literally drawing your reality to you. And that's why your thoughts and your feelings are 90% of the equation. You can know the best strategies in the world and know the best techniques and to take crazy amounts of action. I mean, you see it all the time. There's people that work their butts off. They're constantly spinning on this hamster wheel, but somehow their reality never seems to change. It's because of the thoughts. It's because of the emotions. And as you start dialing in your thoughts and your emotions, you will by default attract the success into your life and the right strategies into your life. So that's the training balance scale. I want all of you to pay close attention to this and start focusing on what your most consistent thoughts are. What are you thinking about most of the time? Because you literally become what you think about most of the time. It's called the strangest secret. What are you thinking about most of the time? That's what your reality is going to reflect. And it may sound like foo-foo and simple, but it is one of the most powerful things that completely transformed my reality. When I started focusing on the thoughts I was most consistently having, things started shifting subtly at first, and then it just caught momentum and more. It's kind of like the compounding effect with our money. At first it seems slow, but then it starts compounding and growing, and your reality will start changing based on your thoughts and emotions. So, and you see this all the time in reality. It's funny. I was talking to someone about this the other day. You see this all the time. People are so in their, let's just say, element. They're so in their reality, and they don't even notice they're doing it. And they're like, oh, you know, my purse got stolen, and then this happened, and then my girlfriend broke up with me, and it's just like this crazy. And you're like, how is your life? How does these things keep happening to you? Are you cursed or something? Like, how does this happen? And it's literally just their consistent thought pattern. They're constantly retelling themselves that story in their mind of how their life is hard, bad things happen to them over and over and over, and it starts creating these negative effects. Now, if you do that on the other side of the scale, it does the same thing. So that I spent some time on that one because I think it's really, really important. I really want you guys to understand the importance of your thoughts and your emotions, right? Because we are magnetic beings. So you're going to attract whatever you're thinking and feeling most of the time. Now, the fourth basic is the 4 steps of learning. And this is super important because it's important to determine where you are in your journey, where you are in your growth and development. And I want to give you guys an example. The example I want to give you is, think about when you were a little kid, before you ever had to, before you ever put on a shoe or did it yourself or had to tie your shoe or anything like that. The very first step is unconscious incompetence, right? And that means you don't know that you don't know, right? You didn't know that there was even such thing as tying your shoe because it never came to your mind. It never was in your spectrum of awareness. You didn't think about it. You're like, I didn't know that I didn't know. I didn't know that I had to learn how to tie my shoe. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought they only had straps, or I thought that just magically happened on its own. It's just something you didn't know. Unconscious incompetence, right? You don't know that you don't know. Now, the next step is conscious incompetence. You know that you don't know. So you know that you don't know, right? Oh, all of a sudden you're 3-4 years old and someone's like, hey, do you know how to tie your shoe? You're like, no, like, what is that? They explain it to you, and now you're like, oh, I know that tying a shoe is a thing, but I don't know how to do it. So you know that you don't know how to do it. Conscious incompetence, right? So what happens? What's the next step? You get to conscious competence. Now, someone shows you how to tie a shoe. They show you, you go this way, you go around the loop, you tie it, that's how you tie a shoe. Now, someone showed you how to do it. And you are at the stage of conscious competence where you have to physically apply yourself and think, okay, it goes like this, you tie it around, you go like that, and then you go through the loop and you pull it tight and it ties a shoe. You're at the stage of conscious competence, but every time you do it, you have to think about it. You really have to focus. You have to do it over and over and over and over again to start figuring out how to do it properly and actually consistently be able to do it, right? So that is conscious competence. Now, the last stage is unconscious competence. You've tied your shoe 1,000 times. You don't even think about it anymore. You get up, put your shoe on, something happens with your hands and your shoes tied. You didn't even think. It just magically kind of happened on its own because your mind has done it so many times. You've repeated the practice so many times that it is literally second nature and you don't need to think about it when you do it. Have you ever drove back to your house and you've drove that route so many times that all of a sudden you're daydreaming or something and you're like, whoa, I'm almost home. I don't even remember driving for the last 15 minutes. It's that same thing. Unconscious competence. It just becomes second nature. And that's what you guys need to get to in life with these basic steps. You guys need to start the first 3 steps that I showed you need to start becoming unconscious. If I asked you, what's the second basic? You should know that instantly. What is the second basic? Because it's become unconscious. You just know that it just happens. It's just something that's second nature to you. You know that basic, right? And so when it comes to who are you listening to? How teachable are you? What side of the training balance scale are you using most? All these things need to become second nature. So does within our business, how to pique someone's interest, how to show someone a presentation properly. You need to repeat these actions so many times that it becomes second nature. Now, there's 2 ways to actually get more and more to unconscious competence. And one, obviously, like I've been talking about, is doing it repeatedly. The second is by osmosis, surrounding yourselves with other people that are doing it over and over, and you can actually model after their behavior. It's why you want to come to events. You want to hang out around people like Dante, like Mario, people that are doing the things over and over and over again, and you can observe how they're doing it, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. Now I feel more confident doing that. I've observed you do it over and over. So those are the 4 basics. There's a lot more to this training. I could go in on this. Like I said, this could go on for 2 hours, but it's been 20 minutes. And so I hope you guys got some value. I hope you guys understand this. And I really, really urge you guys to go through this training. Go look up Your Wish is Your Command. I'll go find a YouTube link right now. I'll put it in the comments in the next minute or 2. And you guys can start listening to the audio. Download it to your iPods. Listen to it while you're driving. Whatever you got to do, start educating and learning, because these are powerful methods that literally the most elite people in the world have been using to create their success. This is how billionaires become billionaires. So I hope you guys got some value from that. I hope you guys took notes. Much love. Peace out. Dabo.
Sheesh. I already see some 7s in the chat. I didn't even ask for them. But guys, if you got any value out of what Dabo just dropped, I just learned a lot. I'm not going to lie.